Recently, I've been doing autism, having my usual monthly obsession with random media, and one bit of fiction that has stuck around, and does not seem to be going anywhere anytime soon, is Transformers. And being the silly robot girl and absolute nerd that I am, my immediate thought was, what if these characters had Pokemon teams? Now, is this a dumb idea? Yes. Do I care? I mean, you're watching the video, so you probably don't. So why should I? Now, right before we begin, we're going to go over a couple of rules just to be sure we stay on track. Those being, rule number 1, we will be giving full teams of 6 Pokemon, no more and no less. And rule number 2, duplicate Pokemon will not be tolerated, although I will allow other forms and evolutions. Which means, sorry Rivervroom, maybe next time buddy. In this video, we'll be going over 8 characters in total, 4 Autobots and 4 Decepticons respectively. And if any of you in the comments have any suggestions on characters or Pokemon for them, please feel free to tell me, because I won't lie, this was a lot harder than I had originally planned. And with all that out of the way, let's get started with...
eBay.
I mean, come on, who else do you think we're going to start with? He's Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots. Anyway, I tried to choose Pokemon that best fit Prime's design and personality as best I could, and here's what I got. As you can see, my first choice of Pokemon for Optimus was Braviary, as the Pokédex states that it's a brave Pokemon that fights for its allies, and will never stop fighting to protect others. Next is Gallade, a Pokemon full of courage and righteousness, that's eager to protect those in need. In battle, Prime's weapon of choice is his mighty Energon Axe, here represented by Cleavor. Next I chose Porygon, a reference to Optimus' job as a data clerk before the Cybertronian War. Second to last, I chose Cosmoem because it looks like the matrix of leadership, which I think is important for him to have. And finally, I give Optimus Oranguru, a Pokemon who's super intelligent and can give orders and commands to other Pokemon. Perfect for a leader like Optimus Prime. Next on our list, we have Bumblebee, the young scout of the Autobots. And fun fact, he used to be my favourite when I was a kid. To start, I obviously had to choose a bee Pokemon, and who better than Beedrill? I think he speaks for himself really. And next, I want to allude to the Bayverse, where Bumblebee has lost his voice and speaks through a radio. So I went with Loudred, mostly because of them and Detective Pikachu acting like speakers. And look, his little ear things are like Bumblebee's little ear things. Whatever they are. And of course we need Patrat, literally called the Scout Pokemon. Plus, he's just a little guy, like Bumblebee is. And fourth, I chose Nidorino. I feel like it's a good reference to Bumblebee's stinger he has in some variations. For his next Pokemon, I wanted to reference Bumblebee before the Cybertron War. There are obviously many versions of this, but my favourite is of him being a courier, due to his high speed and fuel efficiency. So Pelipper works well here, as it seems to be a courier many times in the anime, and sometimes the games. Speaking of Bumblebee's speed, who better than Zeraora to represent it? A fast Electro-type who also shares his yellow and black colour scheme. Now, moving on to probably my favourite Autobot, the first ever designed female Transformer, Arcee. And while she may not be as strong as her Autobot comrades, she makes up for it with her compassion and agility. For our first Pokemon, we have Gardevoir. And am I putting my favourite Pokemon on my favourite Cybertronian? Yes I am. But Gardevoir just fits so well. An openly feminine Pokemon, and her helmet hair thing looks like Arcee's head. Also, Arcee is known for a caring and compassionate nature, especially with Autobot friends and humans, which helps Gardevoir's case a lot more. A bit meta with this one, but I'm with Marill. A fun fact about Marill, in earlier games, because of its gender difference between it and its pre-evolution Azurill, it was possible for your Azurill to change gender when it evolved. And Arcee, fun fact, is actually the first canonically transgender Transformer. Thirdly, I went with Cyclozar, who's based on a motorbike. Which modern versions of Arcee transform into? As you may have seen so far, I had to allude to the past jobs of Cybertronians before the war. And I take inspiration from Transformers Prime, where Arcee was a spy. And of course for this, we have to choose Inteleon. I mean, he's literally based off James Bond. Plus, you know, they're both blue and lanky, and Arcee is also shown to be a great marksman, which is also very fitting. Now, in the G1 continuity, Arcee is shown to be a caring monthly figure but Daniel Witwicky and younger Autobots, and was sometimes underestimated due to her gender, so I gave her Kangaskhan, a strong female-only Pokemon who protects her baby with her life. I feel like it also represents Arcee as a headmaster, as she's carrying around Daniel like Kangaskhan does its baby. And lastly, I chose Megatron, a feminine-looking robot Pokemon created by humans. And do you want to know why I chose Megatron? Because of one comic continuity, where Arcee was built by Optimus Prime just to make a bunch of feminists off for there being no female Autobots. This is something in Transformers past that should stay there. But I feel it's quite funny, so I wanted to include it. And finally, for the last Autobot on our list, we have Grimlock, the leader of the Dinobots. A powerful warrior who can go toe-to-toe with even the likes of Optimus, at the expense of him not being very bright. And he's another one of my personal favourites. Am I a bit biased? Yeah, but this is my list, so I get to choose who's on it. Our first Pokemon is Tyrantrum, who's based on a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Do I really have to elaborate? And next, we have Morpeko, a Pokemon with two forms that change depending on its mood, which matches versions of Grimlock that depict him having a sort of Jekyll and Hyde type relationship with his Dino Ultimate. Keeping on this theme, I think Darmanitan also works rather well, with Zen form being calm and at peace, while its other form is aggressive and full of fire. For his next Pokemon, I chose Iron Thorns, because, do I really have to explain myself? And for his fifth Pokemon, I chose H-Slash, in reference to his anytime sword, that uses often to cut people in half. And lastly, I went with King Gambit, a leader Pokemon with great power, often choose to use brute force rather than use any kind of strategy. And that's it for Autobots for today. So now, let's move on to... And I think it's only fair that since we started with the leader of the Autobots, we'll do the same for the Decepticons. So let's talk about Megatron, a ruthless tyrant who was once Optimus' friend, now turned to the dark side after power and tunnel vision corrupted his mind. So far I've had a few Pokemon that represent weapons, and I think we need to have one to reference Megatron's iconic Energon cannon. So I chose Chloritza, a Pokemon with one big giant claw that acts as a cannon, firing powerful projectiles. And as for Megatron's Energon mace, I chose Quillfish, specifically Hisuian Quillfish, as its purple design works a lot better. And come on, you can just imagine him picking it up and swinging it around. And as for his third Pokemon, I gave Megatron Octillery, because, well, it's a tank. It's especially obvious when you see its beta design. Never forget what they took from us. And while Megatron has had many different Ulmos over the years, I personally prefer him as a tank. Fight me. For his next Pokemon, I give Megatron Raticate, a dark-type Pokemon similar to a mob boss, commanding groups of Rattatas through its bidding and claiming territory as their own, similar to what Megatron does quite frequently. Now, some may say that Mabostiff is better for this role, but if you actually read its dex entries, it's a very friendly Pokemon, which Megatron isn't. For his fifth Pokemon, I chose Gigalith, a Pokemon covered in crystals, in reference when Megatron was an Energon miner before the war. And for Megatron's final Pokemon, I chose Galarian Rapidash. For no particular reason. Nothing at all. Nope.
Pick up radio signals from across the universe. Play my favorite song.
My little pony, my little pony.
Good stuff.
For our second Decepticon, I want to talk about one of the most popular Transformers, and Megatron's most loyal follower, Soundwave, the communications officer. Now before we get to Soundwave, it's important we talk about his two most famous and prominent cassette bots, Ravage and Laserbeak. Now for Ravage, I chose Mightyena because they share a similar colour scheme, and for Laserbeak, I chose Skarmory because it's a metal bird, and Corviknight seemed a bit too big and heavy. Now for actually referencing Soundwave himself, the first Pokemon I chose to give him was Noivern, a Pokemon that fires ultrasonic waves from its ears to attack, like Soundwave can do from his body, as well as using echolocation to find its way around, much like how Soundwave can pick up on frequencies. For its fourth Pokemon, I chose Dragapult, because not only is it a stealth bomber jet, like Soundwave from Transformers Earthspark, but it also carries its little baby Droopy in its head, like Soundwave does with his cassette bots in his chest. Second to last, I chose Alakazam, an intelligent Pokemon that can read minds and never forgets what it's learned, much akin to Soundwave, reading thoughts through electrical brainwaves and using what he's learned as blackmail. And finally, I chose Binette, in reference to Transformers Animated, where Soundwave was originally a toy. Now from one wave to another, I think it's time we discuss Shockwave. Now Shockwave is the head scientist for Decepticons. However, his lack of any emotion or empathy, thanks to experiments conducted on him, has turned him into a soulless monster who only seeks to further his work. Anyway, let's give him a team of colourful animals with magic powers. Now I think the perfect partner Pokemon for Shockwave is Genesect, an extinct Pokemon forcefully brought back to life through modern technology and upgraded to be a weapon, much like how Shockwave was forcefully experimented on, turning him into who he is today. Plus the red purple, teehee, for his second Pokemon, I chose Orbeetle, who's partly based on a mad scientist. You know, having a brain like a supercomputer, Shockwave can easily outsmart any opposing threat. So I think Metagross, whose brain is also this fast, fits perfectly. Metagross also looks like modern alt mode Shockwave has gotten in recent years. Fourth, we have Zoroark, a Pokemon known for disguising itself as others, like how Shockwave intercepted the Autobots under the name Long Arm in Transformers Animated. Titan was a Pokemon I think works rather well. It was created and experimented on to be a weapon, and wears a helmet on its head to suppress its power, much like how Shockwave's head was replaced while he was being experimented on. Also, side note, Titanol is modelled after Arceus, who is God, and Shockwave basically became God in one continuity, which I think is quite funny to mention. And finally we have Castform, because... And for our final character, since we've only discussed one female Cybertronian, let's talk about the sly, the dangerous Blackarachnia. Now I can hear you on the comments, Jenny, technically Blackarachnia isn't a Decepticon, she's a Predacon from the Beast Wars continuity. But she's been in enough media, like Transformers Animated, War for Cybertron, and even the upcoming Transformers one, so I think she qualifies for this list. Plus we can easily do more Maximals and Predacons if the series gets popular enough. Now for her first Pokemon, you should be used to this by now, we're giving her Ariados to start. Next, Blackarachnia is known for being quite the femme fatale. I had to Google what that meant, and I think Slizzle fits rather well here. Not only are they both, women, Slizzle is known for being rather evil and manipulative, often using its pheromones to get what it wants. And for a second feminine Pokemon, I chose Vesperquin. Not only because their colour schemes match or anything, but they do, but because they're both known for having violent and often controlling personalities. Fourth, I went with Gliscor, known for its silent night attacks and the ability to drain other Pokemon of their blood, much like Aracnid in her Spider Ult mode. For her fifth member, I chose Iron Hands, referred to as a cyborg in the Dex entries. Much like Arachnia, often been shown to be half machine and half organic, like in the Beast Machines continuity. And finally, I gave her Deoxys, based on when she was first discovered as an alien protoform shot down from space, as well as when she joined the Maximals and upgraded herself, giving her psychic powers. And I feel like with these psychic powers, and Deoxys being quite a smart Pokemon, it represents part of Blackarachnia not often discussed. I find she's actually quite intelligent and a great inventor. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. 8 Cybertronians, all with full teams of Pokemon. Honestly, even though it's got very tough, especially near the end, I had fun making it. And with Transformers 1 right around the corner, the hype for this fandom is at a high. So I hope the video does well, because I would love to make a part 2, and there are just so many iconic characters in this franchise I could give teams to. And if you have any ideas for teams or improvements on these ones, make sure to let me know. Heck, I might even do other franchises too eventually. I've got some great ideas cooking. And hey, if you like this video, you should definitely subscribe. Not only does it help me out, it makes sure you don't miss out on any future uploads. Also like, comment, hit the bell, shave your teeth, scrub the elephant, the pizza's burning, oh my god, get out quick! I've been your host, Jennybot. And this is me shutting down. In the G1 continuity, Arcee is shown to be a caring mother. Fucking Discord?